Hi there, and welcome to the latest edition of SecondsOut FLEXpectations. I'm Danny Flexen, and we're going to be looking ahead to the future of boxing, particularly in the UK, but also in the wider world as the restrictions surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic finally and thankfully start easing off a little bit. And we have a boxing show in sight, in the books, and it's not too far away, the 9th of June in the US, Las Vegas, MGM Grand. Which is where Top Rank are going to be putting all their shows, at least for the time being, which makes sense, I guess, in the same way that Eddie Hearn will be putting all his shows at Matchroom HQ and Frank Warren probably at BT Studios in London, because it means you can keep a set of people all in the same space, all in the same hotel. You've got your infrastructure in place, it keeps costs down, safety will be paramount as well. It just makes sense. And also from a TV perspective, because obviously these fights will be behind closed doors, there won't be a crowd, and in some cases, particularly I believe in the start of Top Rank's shows, there won't be any press either, at least not on site. It makes sense from a televisual perspective to have the same venue and have it branded up and just imprint it in viewers' minds so they know who's who and which fighters are associated with which promoters and so on. We don't know how long this is going to last. I mean, it might be the autumn when fans start being allowed in, obviously with social distancing in place, or it might even be the start of 2021. So boxing's coming back, that's a plus point. Although I've got to say, when I heard the first couple of fights that were likely to happen on the Top Rank shows, I was a little bit disappointed. Bear with me, I am going somewhere with this. So Shakur Stevenson, featherweight champion, is going up for this one fight at least to super feather, probably because no one's really been able to train properly in gyms during the past few months. So he's going to be fighting Felix Caraballo, I guess is how you pronounce it, and not a great fighter, kind of average record, decent enough performer. Stevenson, you would expect to beat him clearly. And then we've also got a WBO super featherweight champion Jamel Herring, who was obviously supposed to be fighting Carl Frampton this summer, but because of the behind closed doors element and the travel restrictions going the other way to the US from the UK and Ireland, there's a bit of an issue with that happening anytime soon. So they're both apparently going to take interim fights, and Jamel Herring's is against Jonathan Oquendo, who's again a decent fighter, but someone who lost not too long ago to Lamont Roach, and Lamont Roach lost in his last fight to Jamel Herring. So Herring's beating someone who his last victim was already defeated. So ostensibly these aren't great competitive fights, certainly not on paper. But while I was a bit kind of frustrated by this at the start, when you look a bit deeper and think about it, and these guys haven't trained, I know it's a level playing field because both fighters haven't trained, but there's going to be no crowd, there's going to be no gate money. We're going to see a bottleneck, so we're going to see fights or shows happening more than once a week. We're going to see I think Top Rank is starting off with 2 in a week, and that will probably continue for a while, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Frank Warren said on this channel not too long ago he plans to start with at least minimum 1 show a week as well. So I think for the time being, we have to accept it's going to be quantity over quality. Making big fights behind closed doors isn't impossible. Eddie Hearn's already indicated he wants to make Dillian Whyte against Alexander Povetkin at Matchroom HQ. But to kind of make the money back that you would have made on a live gate is going to be very difficult. It's why Hearn's had this idea for Joshua against Kubrat Pulev to take place in a small venue in the autumn, if fans are allowed back in, socially distanced, maybe 1,000 people, and make it kind of a glitzy high rollers event with a pre-fight dinner and a post-fight party and kind of real tuxedos and, you know, flashy kind of high roller event for affluent people who've been least affected by the financial constraints of the shutdown, which kind of makes sense, and it's good to see people thinking outside the box. And obviously if you're watching on TV, as long as the pay-per-view prices don't go up, it doesn't really make much of a difference whether how much the tickets cost if you're not planning to go. So getting back to the original point, it is going to be quantity to begin with. We're not going to see big kind of marquee fights, I wouldn't think, until at least August, maybe later. So in the meantime, we should just enjoy the fact that live boxing's back, and we might see very competitive fights on the undercard, because if anything, the shutdown is a great leveler. You know, no one's really been in the gym. People have been left to their own devices. How much they're training at home is open to question, some more than others. And some of these on paper underdogs, and I'm not necessarily talking about the likes of Caraballo and Oquendo here, because I do think they're going to get beaten fairly comfortably in their fights. But I think in some of the undercard fights, the house fighters might find it pretty difficult, because the guys who would not normally get the opportunity are guys that are ready to fight at 3 or 4 weeks' notice. And that suggests that they've been training hard at home in shutdown, and also that they're eager to grasp their opportunity. They might not have got on TV in a normal situation, but because there's going to be more shows and some of the bigger name fighters will be sitting on the bench for a little while longer, it's a huge opportunity for some of the fighters that wouldn't normally get this level of exposure. And it could only happen once. You know, we might not see a situation like this in their lifetime again. So they're going to be coming, they're going to be bringing everything they've got. And we could see a lot of upsets on the undercard, but more importantly for the fans, we could see some unexpectedly competitive fights on those undercards for our TV viewing pleasure, if you like. So yeah, while I was initially a bit frustrated by the matchmaking, I've kind of come to terms with it. I understand it, and I know there'll be better things to come, hopefully, in the future. No idea if I'll be able to go to any kind of fight weeks or shows anytime soon because of the restrictions, but I'll be happy just to get boxing back on the TV, live sport in general. I've really missed it, as I'm sure a lot of you have. Be great to know what you guys think of the fights that have been kind of mooted or announced so far. What you think about boxing coming back. Are they making the right moves? What do you think of Eddie Hearn's High Rollers kind of event that he's talking about happening, maybe at the Royal Albert Hall or Kensington Olympia? Let us know what you think of that too, and I'll respond to some of the comments. I'll be back next week, Thursday, for FLEXpectations, 4:30, and this Monday, same time, with Reflections. As always, really appreciate your time, and see you soon. Cheers.